Hi folks, my name's Trey. This is my channel, Trey's Myths and Tunes on Odyssey and YouTube, and my daily ritual, Trey's Timeless 15 Minutes of Explain. And today my discussion is called The Snake in the Garden of Eden and D.I.Y. Gnosis. International Chief Thief, Alpha 2. International Chief Thief. You all work just for me. International Chief Thief. I'm the Alpha 2. International Chief Thief. You're all just working for me, 'cause I'm the tax man. Yes, I'm the tax man. And if you live in California and you're legal, you're working for no one but me. That's why you can't hang out with Trey and be free. 'Cause I'm the tax man. And I'm gonna recycle you forever through the moon Saturn matrix if I can. 'Cause you're my slave permanently. So we have the snake in the Garden of Eden and the D.I.Y. healing skills. And what does that mean in the context of Gnosis? It means we ascertain and question, and this is a conversation, even though it's one-sided, unless you want to add comments and keep it going, which would be cool with me. Then we'll do YouTube and the entire planet a little service of spiritual exploration. And as my first video on this subject, is Yahweh a narcissistic predator entity? This is simply a question, an exploration. We explore together, even though it's in different time frames. And it's a timeless now, always. So what if this is accurate? What if this is why the Christians are taught this? Because they want to cut you off from your Kundalini force, your sexual power, or possibly your instinct, instinctual wisdom, discernment, and spiritual sovereignty, and say the Zeta 4D 2D split. And many people can actually disrupt the flow entirely through trauma. Often the people don't understand most of the mind control occurs through trauma. It's obvious when you look at the long view of the shamanic recapitulation work on your life that if you don't have instinctual wisdom, discernment, and spiritual sovereignty, that this snake or demiurge feeds your soul to the matrix death reincarnation trap. And this is why fake Christians will never admit reincarnation, but they don't want to admit it. The answer is to accept goodness, and the gnosis is proper. Okay, snake wisdom, discursive, discriminatory power. In other words, being in the Chinese year of the snake and the triple Sagittarius, people get intimidated, both on the dark and light side, because I bring forth some of them. People want to punch me because I talk so long, but I bring this wisdom, and it's discursive. It might be explanatory, or it might be creating, seem to create sides where it's simply just trying to explain the discriminatory power. In other words, when you have gnosis, when you have discernment, you know how to use and also your kundalini sexual energy. You know how to use the snake brain properly, and also it helps you to keep it in the base and second, third chakra, and not above that. Using your snake brain only for the Christ or for the oneness. Eventually, you realize that no ego, no problem. As far as your snake, you don't want to bring that force out until you want to embrace the beloved, or when it comes to the time of crisis, when you need to really whip someone with your verbal abuse, not verbal abuse, but use your discrimination to tell them exactly how you feel. Individuation, psychological individuation with respect to the Christos includes wisdom and peaceful power. People who pretend to be Christian into truth and wisdom but won't watch this channel because they're still controlled by association. Um, they're afraid of the full Gnosis, you know. And awareness of the snake brain is Gnosis in a way when you think about it. Wrong and right denotes all wisdom is just information. Okay, like, so there is wrong and right, but according to the people who obey this moral relativity that the snake brain or the reptilians put forth, they want you to think, you know, that all wisdom is just information, whether it's wrong or right. And then and that feeds your soul to the matrix, death, reincarnation trap. So what if Lucifer and Belial the Almighty are almighty and powerful spiritual pussies when it comes to morality? Why would they have to stop my broadcasting the joy? The last video I uploaded was called The Joy of Being Moral, and then I couldn't get online for a day. Are these the characters talking to Adam and Eve in Genesis and Deuteronomy and Numbers? Since the real original creator would never be jealous and come in and command you not to study wisdom, because we are his or her, we are their children, his and her children. These two are trying to get along to take over the earth. So there's a theory now, or Lisa Renee said that, you know, that Satan or Lucifer and Satan or Belial and the Black Suns or the reptilians and the Anunnaki are trying to orchestrate this takeover right now. So you know, getting along. Is that who was having that conversation in the garden with man? Those two guys? Put a comment if you have any ideas on that. So, according to Lisa Renee, for about 20 years, the dark side, all these different evil alien races that these archetypes represent have been getting along in order for this takeover plan. But then again, is Bill Gates funded and partially by him and the American taxpayers, this nano-induced acid rain to drown out George Soros' drones arsonist season? Because Bartzis claims, you know, that the eye at the top of the pyramid are fighting each other over dominance. But could we thank Bill Gates and Lockheed and the CIA for helping us not have an arsonist season? Imagine the Qippiloth flipped on its head and the primacy of peace and oneness instead of Belial, Lucifer, and the Black Sun, and they at the bottom of creation, the dark side, instead of in the mansions and forcing you to take a shot. Imagine the snake brain does not rule over anything. Imagine that fear has no authority or power. Only in the base chakra, only when it's time to run away or fight or flight. Christ is king of all mind. What if you realize that fully? What if you accept that truth? What if you tell everyone you know that that's the real reality and it's become obvious to you in this year 2023, supposed years after Yeshua's birth? What if you accept that Christ is king of all mind, all inversions, sex change, seen as they really truly are? Weather weapons. What if weather weapons were only used to balance and harmonize, make the Earth have a perfect atmosphere instead of trying to lower the population or make us freeze to death? What if Tesla's 0 point energy, free energy, was given to humanity? What if David Wilcox was not interrupted in his plan to build 0 point cars right now, and I could go help him or go buy one from him and ride over to your house in it? What is standing between us and that? Well, disclosure. And so when, Dan Willis is the one that really, his webmatrix.net is really exposed more than anyone else as far as information about a lot of this stuff. But he talks about a lot of different energy things, and it would mean, this is why Tesla was thought of as eccentric, and Edison was well loved because Edison was working with the 1%, the big boys, and designing the utilities companies and all that, like to learn how to cash in off electricity. Whereas Tesla, he briefly powered a town in Colorado with an experiment with the electrical energy in the clouds. There's one reason I don't like to be around Colorado, because the dark side is always experimenting on the clouds there. But I love Colorado anyway. So imagine the peace we'll have as a society when we realize that what the Lutheran Church and the Bible Covenant and the Presbyterian Church has already admitted for 5 years, that just because your ancestors cut the heads off these Native Americans if they wouldn't convert to Catholicism doesn't mean this is a legitimate society. I mean, what if we were willing to admit that most of the institutions we believe are legitimate? It's because they built these huge buildings, and these Draco reptilians are masters of organization and intimidation and killing, coercion. And they've been doing this for at least a century or 3 centuries, and we believe in it because of intimidation, because our ancestors were killed. What if that's why? Well, that's the reality, and once we accept these type of heavy realities, we can move on. But once we're, and there's some personal issues I have to face too, like just being completely clear about my feelings. The Roros, the KM, Rothschild, Rockefeller, Khazarian Mafia had to work very, very hard, diligently for centuries, to run the wars. Their poison corporations and their mind control, their Nazi takeover plans without much interruption. I mean, they had some, but IG Farben and Project Paperclip, they had their Nazi pseudoscientists they took them from Auschwitz and had them over here to create American psychiatry within 15 years after they were locked up. So for centuries without much interruption, the reptilians have been able to get the world the way it is. I mean, you got to admit, they've done a great job of that goal. They stole, lied, and built cities and mansions and police forces on the plunder. They're not just going to let me tell the truth without a little heavy blackballing, shadow bans, and forced to take a day off. Thanks, Satan. I needed a break from the microwaving. Love you. But love to agree with you that you don't exist more, because truly love rules me. Not that you don't exist really, but because love rules me. And that's the ultimate thing, that the snake, again, on the higher octave, it represents Gnosis, wisdom, spiritual essence, energetic power, and discernment, discriminatory knowledge. And you can reclaim all those things when you remember that this demiurge or whatever, this Yahweh, the negative side of it, the patriarchal or the Luciferic, the black sun, the reptilian, or the Anunnaki force within our subconscious can only do us harm when we're inverted, like the Qlipaloth, like Bruce Jenner. When we allow it to invert us. But when we tame the tiger and snake in the brain, realize the man is in control. The sacred Christ is the only controller within the alive mankind, which actually mostly, usually, always brings about peace in situations when that's really the case, and the ego doesn't fuck it up. And you can reclaim that power when you believe in yourself. If you haven't already, click the subscribe and give me a comment or a thumbs up if this was entertaining or enlightening. And create a great day, my beloved. kin wherever you are.